Let me introduce the sponsor for today's video. Yahaha is a brand new UGC or user-generated content creation platform for 3D multiplayer interactive experience. With Yahaha, anyone can create and publish their virtual experiences. You can build the creation without coding experience or server knowledge. Simply use the components and smart assets in Yahaha Studio to make your dream games. Yahaha supports multiplayer playing simultaneously so your friends can join you in Yahaha games and other immersive 3D events. This means it's super easy to make new friends at any time in Yahaha. Click the link below and join Yahaha's early access now for free. Thanks Yahaha for sponsoring this video. This video contains spoilers for the manga Trigun, and if you've only seen the anime then yes, there's a difference. It might be strange to think about this video if you're coming from an anime which lasts just 24 episodes, but Trigun is composed of two different manga series, Trigun and Trigun Maximum. Written by Yasuhiro Naito, this series goes on for over 100 chapters across 17 volumes. It tells the story of Vash the Stampede, a plant-based life form who traverses a dead planet, making sure that humans keep peace amongst themselves, whilst their new home gets terraformed a la Dune. The style of drawing is really unique to Naito, who's also gone on to design the characters for Gungrave and create Blood Blockade Battlefront. Jesus. It's a pointed 90s kind of style, which bears great resemblance to Naito's contemporaries of the time, like the style seen in Rurouni Kenshin, Evangelion, and even Yu-Gi-Oh! Noses are 90-degree angles, eyes wide and glistening. Like those other series, Trigun also has its own path, with embroidered weaponry and almost doing a heavenly spin of H.R. Geiger. The drawings for the plants using their power and being a source are unsettling in their abstraction from reality, whilst tying into a humanoid form. It creates an unnerving reaction from distorting that which we know. It's not too dissimilar to those Bible-accurate angel videos. Whenever Vash uses his plant's power, his character design changes, with his hair turning a deep, dead black. This is a signifier that a plant, something grown and exploited as an energy source, is beginning to run out of power. The contrast comes from his colourful stylistic design and personality. It fully conveys the sense of death when he slowly loses one of his prime features. There's a makeshift arm gun, which only ever gets used deeper into the story, when we're used to this light-hearted saviour, only to be shocked once more that Vash, despite his sense of humanity, is more than meets the eye in an inhuman and battle-hardened way. This July incident, which Vash refers to, his principles of pacifism, and the condition of his arm are all inextricably linked. In the July incident, Vash's angel arm was used to kill hundreds of thousands of people, wiping out the synonymous town of July entirely. The scattered memories, a constant flash in Vash's mind, with wisps of loosely drawn families and villages popping up throughout the entire series. Naito has a great style, almost sketch-like, which slips and slides really well into both deep, thought-provoking contemplation, chaotic action, and occasional comedy. The details on faces are fairly simple, but this fairly blank palette is used to great effect, so that Naito shows us an array of emotions. It also goes hand in hand with the comedy too. Lean, tall characters like Millie take up less space so she can take out her ridiculously oversized minigun. Clothing has a great variance, as the typical Western style is reserved for most human characters. Sheriffs and bounty hunters, well-dressed men of God and young ladies all have the distinct look of the Midwest. But villains like Legato have really intense features, conflicting with the natural styles of others, with pointed knife-like armor that's decorated with human remains. That's to say nothing of Million's knives, Vash's brother. In the anime, they only ever use a single design for him, but in the manga, he starts off as this long-haired Antichrist figure. The flashbacks and flash-forwards have him change again and again. This is a man who takes control, and he manipulates perception, even through how we see him. He feigns innocence, acts as a god, acts as a brother, and through it all, we feel a sense of dread whenever he's around, because some underhanded purpose is never far away. When Knives begins consuming the plants to gain ultimate power, it's both surreal and disturbing as he slowly loses himself, and this dissimilarity from human anatomy is accentuated even more. Towards the end of the series, Naito's characters really feel a lot more pain, and you can see it in the minute ways he changes and distorts the drawing of mouths and eyes. Vash always makes a point to keep his composure of love and peace and give off a general aura of positivity, but towards the end we see a dying alien who can barely keep it together. The morality of the series, of Vash's pacifism and the inevitability of violence, is one of the best explorations of the story, and its art reflects this too, with a muddying effect and distortion used to convey the violence used, especially by those we know to be good people, like Nicholas D. Wolfwood, a traveling priest. Perhaps all of this, and being familiar with all of this for so long, is why it's so hard for me to palate the new anime. Studio Orange, as they do, are making a fully CGI anime called Trigun Stampede. The show features a pretty heavy departure from the base material and the 90s anime, which really brought that style to life. Gungrave being the next production designed by Naito, with a story penned by the man to boot. It was a series that really reaffirmed this style. For Stampede's main departure to be a different style altogether, it kind of makes me sad that they turned away from a really prolific designer. Naito has a great use of panels. Unlike my heroes, Inoue and Miura, this man knows how to cut things off to share the story whilst maintaining brevity. And he does this to great effect. Not everything needs to be biblical or every step detailed. From slight drawings of eyes to segmented hatchings, Naito told the story he wanted to tell pretty quickly, and that's respectable too. Sometimes the action can be so hectic with its jagged lines that you have to sit back and think a little about what's going on. Sometimes that's a weakness. When you think of Vagabond or Berserk, they aren't really conventional manga. They almost went against the grain of what manga is supposed to be, not releasing regularly and featuring artwork like that which is hung in a museum. Trigun feels pulpy, but it's actually just a regular manga that released when it was supposed to and told the story that it wanted to tell. At the end of the day, it's a respectable series in its own right. A lot of people might look away from his design skills because of his artwork, turned off by this shortcoming, and miss out on some of the phenomenal designs that never end up in the anime. A great way to advertise how Naito designs his world is to look at the short story submitted for Trigun, Multiple Bullets, a showcase between various artists who contributed short stories. Boichi made one of these, as he has with One Piece, and my god, everything he makes is gold. Seeing this world through the lens of Boichi, of Yusuke Takayama, and others just shows how original Naito's concepts were. I always thought that the plants were an interesting design that reminded me a little of the humans' codependence to the sandworms of Dune, but no. Apparently it's as simple as westerns and superheroes that inspired Naito and inspired Trigun. Either way, similar to Dune, he creates a beautiful metaphor to our reliance on fossil fuels, the repetitive and violent nature of humanity, and conveys them with striking scenes of desolation and beauty. The whole series is like this beyond the art too. The joviality and camaraderie is there. It's like you'd imagine a shonen to be, in many respects. But then Naito stabs you in the heart when these characters don't die with a smile on their face. Wolfwood dies with regrets. He regrets a life filled with mistakes. Vash's pacifism is driven to the edge by Legato, and he pulls the trigger. The ways which Trigun establish its key themes is by making shonen heroes built entirely around something, and then dismantling them. It is a deconstruction, something which is thrown around a lot nowadays, I know. And yes, it is fairly simplistic here, but it's still done well. Either way, these unclear illustrations are certainly a problem which the start of the series suffers from far more than the end. This also applies to Blood Blockade Battlefront. After working on Trigun and Maximum from 1995 to 2007, Naito changed, like many mangaka during this period, by converting from traditional ink on paper to digital. Naito's style changed from that 90s look to more blocky, physically realistic characters. The blank slates of characters' faces are now really defined. There's tons of character design when it comes to the faces of the people in Blood Blockade Battlefront. This new series is a good ending point because this series has a really clean, shiny look to it, which both separates it from the gritty western manga of Trigun to the very different series which Blood Blockade Battlefront became. Personally, I don't really like Blood Blockade Battlefront, and I think a large part of it is just how different it is from Trigun. And hey, that's my loss, because being able to make two consecutive franchises feel so utterly different and raise them both to their own successes is a really remarkable thing to do. His series in anime has a vast array of production too. Trigun was traditionally animated on cells, Gungrave's anime was produced in that between period where every single frame was done on paper, and then Blood Blockade Battlefront was done as a modern day 2D digital production. And here we have Trigun Stampede being a completely 3D anime. What a portfolio of franchises this man has. Manga, video games, movies, and anime. Yasuhiro Naito and the artistic evolution of Trigun, and of the things he's created, is truly impressive. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my patrons. There's more videos coming soon, but if you can't wait, then check out my Patreon exclusive videos. Early access for the next public video for only $1 a month.